Welcome. So we're going to go through question 11 here, and this is a reasoning question, and it really is quite tricky. So hopefully you've given it a good try, and now I'll go through it. It says Nina, Shanti, and Belle run a 1,000-meter race at a constant speed. When Nina crossed the finish line first, so Nina finished first, she was 200 meters ahead of Shanti and 400 meters ahead of Belle. When Shanti crossed the finish line, how far ahead of Belle was she? Okay, so initially we've kind of got a lot of things going on, and we've been given a snapshot of what happens when Nina finishes the race. So whenever you've kind of got a lot of things going on and you can't quite imagine it in your head, draw yourself a picture. So there's my 1,000 meter race. So this is 1,000 meters right here. Now, what we know is that when Nina finishes, so Nina's at the finish line. When we know that Nina's there, we know that 200 meters behind her, so 200 meters behind her, that's pretty ugly, isn't it? Let's try that again. 200 meters behind her is going to be Shanti. And we also know that 400 meters behind Nina, 400 meters, is going to be Belle. So Shanti is 200 meters behind Nina and Belle is 400 meters behind Nina. That's what we're told in the question. So this is a snapshot of what is going on when Nina finishes the finish line, finishes the race. So this is like a snapshot of what's going on. So hopefully that in our mind just makes things a little bit clearer. Now comes the really tricky part. We're told that everyone's running at a constant speed. So what that means is that maybe Nina's running at 20 meters a minute, maybe Shanti's running at 18 meters a minute, and Belle's running at 17 meters a minute. And when it says constant, it means that this isn't changing. For the entire race, Nina is running at this speed. For the entire race, Shanti is running at this speed. And for the entire race, Belle is running at this speed. So this is kind of not very realistic, isn't it? Because when you think about it, people normally start fast and then slow down and maybe towards the end speed up again. These people aren't doing that. They're just running at a constant speed. Now, that obviously doesn't happen in real life, but for maths, it makes things a bit easy for us to work with. Okay, so knowing that, the fact that this question hasn't told us anyone's speed means we actually have to assume someone's speed, and we need to assume the speed of Nina. And what I mean by that is that we just have to make up a speed and apply it to Nina, and then see how it compares to Shanti and Belle. So we just need to make up a time for Nina, a speed, because then once we have a speed, we can then start comparing them. Because the speed actually doesn't matter. It's the comparison of their speeds that matter. So this is the trickiest part. We're going to start off by saying, let Nina's speed be, and you can make this whatever you like. Make it a nice number to work with, and I think 20 is a pretty nice number to work with. I'm going to make it 20 meters a minute. And that's a nice speed to work with. But let me stress, we've just made this up. There's no reason why I've made it 20. The only reason why I made it 20 is because 20 is a nice number to work with. But you could do whatever you like for this number. Maybe in your own learning, pick another number, and you'll see that even though you've picked another number, you'll still get the same result if you followed the process correctly. So if Nina is going 20 meters per 1 minute, how long is it going to take her to run this 1,000 meter race? Well, if the race is 1,000 meters, for me to figure out how long this is going to take her, what I'm going to have to do is say, well, how do I go from 20 to 100? And obviously you times it by 50. So I'm going to times this side by 50. And that means it's going to take her 50 minutes. And that's really important. It takes Nina 50 minutes to run this race. And let me write that as a full sentence. Takes Nina 50 minutes to run race. So that's our first important statement right there. Takes Nina 50 minutes to run the race. Now, once we've done that, let's kind of partition this off. It's very important to be organized here. So let me just kind of draw a line here. The next thing we have to do is we have to ask ourselves, well, how fast is Shanti running, and how fast is Bell running? How fast is Shanti? Question mark, and let's partition that off. And then also, how fast is Bell? Question mark. And let me just also move this up a bit because it's getting a bit cramped. Sorry about this. Just making things nice and neat. Okay, so how fast is Shanti running? Well, how much distance in this snapshot here has Shanti run? She's run from here all the way to here, 200 meters from the finish line. Well, she's run 800 meters. And that makes sense because it's a 1,000-meter race and she's 200 meters from the finish line. And how long did it take her to get to this point right here? Well, it took her 50 minutes because we know it took 50 minutes for Nina to finish this race. And if Shanti is 200 meters behind Nina, that means it took her 50 minutes to run 800 meters. So I can say that Shanti is running at 800 meters per 50 minutes. And I'm just going to leave it like that and move on to Bell now because I can do the exact same thing for Bell. I know that here, Bell ran from here all the way from here to here. And that's 400 meters from the finish line. Well, 1,000 minus 400 is going to be 600. So she is 600 meters. And how long did it take her to run this? Well, it took her 50 minutes. Whoops, sorry, that should say meters. And the reason why I know it took her 50 minutes is because it took Nina 50 minutes to run this race. And if Bell is 400 meters behind her, well, in that same time, she's run 600 meters. Perfect. Now, the next thing we are going to have to do is when we come up to our question, it says when Shanti crossed the finish line. So this is the snapshot that we began with, but let's actually rub this out because we now need to figure out, actually, let me not rub too much out. Let me leave that. We now need to figure out when Shanti is over here. So when Shanti finishes the race now, where is Bell going to be? She's no longer going to be there anymore. Where is Bell going to be? Well, let me ask you, Shanti started here and is now there. How much distance has she traveled to be at the finish line? Well, she's gone 200 meters. So let's figure out the time it takes Shanti to move 200 meters. So I need to make this 200 meters and figure out the time it took her to move that far. Well, to do that, I need to go from 800 to 200. And how do I do that? I'm going to have to divide by 4. And I'll divide this side by 4. 50 divided by 4 is going to be 12.5. So this will be 12.5 minutes. So that means for Bell to run this time right here, for Bell to run this distance, 200 meters, it takes her 12.5 minutes. So we could say here, it takes... Oh, sorry, have I been saying Bell? I meant Shanti. So many names. It takes Shanti 12.5 minutes to finish. That's an important statement right there. So in 12.5 minutes, Shanti has finished this race. That's what we know. So Shanti was here, but in 12.5 minutes, she's done. She's finished the race. Now, Bell was here. In 12.5 minutes, how far is Bell going to move? Is she going to be here? Is she going to be here? Is she going to be here? How far is she going to move? Well, how can we figure out how far Bell is going to move in 12.5 minutes? Well, we have Bell's speed over here. We just need to figure out how far she's going to move in 12.5 minutes. And to do that, what we're going to do is this. We're going to divide this by 4 because 50 divided by 4 is 12.5. And I'll do the same over here. I'll divide this by 4. And you know what I'm going to get? I'm going to get 150 meters. So that means in 12.5 minutes, Bell has moved 150 meters. So Bell was here, but in 12.5 minutes, she's now here. And this distance right here, so this is where Bell is now, this distance right here is going to be 150 meters. So having done all that now, let's get rid of this. How far away is Belle from the finish line? So Belle is there. How far away is she from the finish line? Well, if she started at 400 meters away from the finish line and now has moved 150 meters forward, it's just the difference between 400 and 150. And the answer to that is 250 meters. So that means the answer is going to be 250 meters. So when Shanti crossed the finish line, Belle is 250 meters behind Shanti. Your answer is 250 meters. So let me put that in a red box. And we could represent it like this. So if I was to come up here, she's run 150 meters and she's now 250 meters behind, because 150 plus 250 is 400. So all of that checks out. Now, let me repeat, this is a tricky question, and it's a reasoning question for a reason. These questions are supposed to make you think. And the fact that you had to assume someone's speed at the beginning makes this even more tricky. You might want to give this question a go, but maybe turn this 20 into another number. Make it a number easy to work with. Maybe do this question and make this number 50 and see if you get to the same result I did. You should. Okay, with that being said, I'll let you go. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you want to talk about this some more, let me, because it is a tricky question. Let me stress that again. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.